Welcome to We Don't Have Cookies, where possibilities are possible. Here's your host, Jason Marshall.
Hey everybody, thanks for downloading the show. This is the last episode of November, where all month I've talked to people who haven't been on the podcast before. It's also the last episode of the months of Jason. If you're a new listener, the months of Jason are July, August, September, October, and November, because the first letter of those months spell my name, and I try to do different themes for each of those months. I'm going to be ending that with a bang with this episode. The world's only blind person to write, direct, produce, and star in a feature film, Australia's own Gough, will be here. I know he's not a new guest, but he does have a new movie, and we're going to talk about that. But first, I'm going to be talking to somebody who I wanted to wait to have on for the New Year's episode, but I just couldn't put it off that long. I've been a fan of his comedy for a long time, and I'm also a fan of his podcast, the Pocket Party Podcast. It's the one and only Darren Carter, the party starter. How you doing?
My man, thank you so much for having me on. And that's a trip. Jason spells July, August, September, October, November. I didn't know that. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I was looking at a calendar one day, and on the side they just had the initials for the months of the year. And I saw my name, and I was like, oh my God. No.
Now, was that as you were an adult or were you a child?
I was a little kid.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, because I was going to say, wouldn't that be a trip if you didn't discover that till you were like 30? You're like, damn.
I figured it out about a year into the show.
Yeah, that's awesome.
How did you?
Let me ask you. Can I ask you a couple of questions before you start?
Yeah.
Before you start asking me questions, how many episodes of your podcast have you done?
This one will be 225.
That's awesome, man. I love to hear that because some people lose enthusiasm for podcasting and then they quit. And you're like, dude, you should have kept it up.
Yeah, this has been one of the best journeys I've ever been on in my life.
I love podcasting. I love stand-up comedy. I was a stand-up comic for 28 years. And I had a previous podcast, and we did 213 episodes. I did that back in like 2009, I think, to about 2012. And the problem is, I had a partner, and he wanted to do radio, so he eventually just quit. And you're like, damn, I got to start all over again. So I took some time off from podcasting and just worked on acting and putting out more comedy albums. And then I started up my podcast again, and I'm on episode 32. I just recorded 2 more last night, and I love it, man. I just really love podcasting. It's the best.
You never know where it's going to lead, man. That's the best thing is sometimes you meet some really cool people and sometimes you meet some really strange people. But
oh, wow.
One question I want to ask you is how did you get the nickname Party Starter?
It was something I started out as a spoof. When I first started doing stand-up, there was this character I would do in the beginning. Like the idea was that I was going to come on and be like an old-time DJ and be super annoying and be like, hi, I'm Darren Carter, the party starter, throwing up like who I'm through, get off street, whatever. I would do like this rap like they used to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hard hitting, heavy working, sledgehammer, jackhammer, dirty fingernail, lunch pail, tobacco, chewing, cyber and shaving, cussing, swearing, spitting, stopping, sunning, running, gunning, hooting, tooting, shooting, fighting, biting, roping, riding, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually I kind of got better as a comedian because my big punchline back then is I would do this big long rant. And then I'd be like, just kidding. I'm not really like that. But in the beginning, you're playing like these weird bars. And sometimes they wouldn't let me get to the just kidding. I'm not really like that. They would just start like booing me. So you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And so, but then the Darren Carter, the party starter part stuck because that was the beginning. So then the other comedians would say it back to me, and then the audience would say it back to me. I remember one time I was it was right after Margaret Cho got her first sitcom, and I was in San Francisco, and I was at the Punchline, and she walked by me, and we didn't really know each other that well. I mean, kind of, but not that well. And she goes, "Hi, Darren Carter, the party starter." And I was like, that is so cool. She remembered my name. And I guess that's kind of how I got that nickname, Darren Carter, the party starter. And then I remember some of the older comedians who'd been around a lot more. They were like, man, that name totally fits what you do up there, because you really do have like a vibe and a style that's very entertaining, you know?
And real quick, just for the listeners,
Yeah.
Darren is on his way to a show right now. So if you hear background noise, that's him driving. And I want to thank him for taking time out of his day to call in on his drive. That's really cool of you.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm on my way to the Laugh Factory in Long Beach, California.
Well, like you said, you've been doing stand-up for years now. What's one of the funniest moments you've had on stage?
Wow, it's hard to say because there's so many good moments, especially the longer you do it, then you become super comfortable and you're not nervous and you can basically riff and be in the moment with someone, or you can do some new material or do stuff that you know works. So there's a lot of... Can we curse on this show?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I'll tell you a story. And this one just happened. So I'm in Reno, and in Reno, Nevada, there's a little town nearby called Truckee. And I forget how I went into it, but somehow I'm on stage and somebody said something and they said they were from Truckee. And so I kind of like improv, like just briefly, like a beginning of a country song. I was like, yeah, here's from Reno, but he's really from Truckee. And then I go, and only if there was another word that rhymed with Truckee. And then people kind of laugh because I know I don't have to really say it. I can just say that, and they laugh. Yeah. And then somebody goes, what rhymes with Truckee? And I go, well, one starts with the F and one starts with the S. It's so silly because I don't have to say it, and they laughed. And then I go, and I looked at the crowd like they really want me to say it. And I go, all right, fucky and sucky both rhyme with Truckee. And then this lady who was there with her husband and her son, by the way, her son was about 22. She goes, is fucky a word? And I go, and I looked at her, I go, yeah, there's fucker, and then there's the fucky. and I go, and then maybe they're both from Truckee. I don't know, you know. And that kind of, and actually the whole thing just was a spontaneous, in the moment thing that was just, you can't plan that, you know.
That sounds.
And also, I got to say the experience, because earlier on, I would have just cursed right away and then moved on, you know. Mm-hmm. But I somehow, maybe because I'm a little older, I'm a dad, more experienced, calm. I don't know. I know that I can milk it for about 8 or 9 laughs without actually saying the word. Then I went ahead and said the words, and it killed.
Well, I'm going to flip this question. What is one of the worst moments that you've had on stage?
One of the worst moments. I do really well with a lot of audiences, and for a long time I would get booked at like urban shows where I'm one of the few white guys on the show. But I did a show in Atlanta at an all black owned comedy club. It's called Uptown, and the audiences would be a little bit mixed. Not really though, but a little bit mixed. Like when I say a little, it'd be like maybe 10 non-black audience members during the week, but on the weekend, especially the late show, for whatever reason, I'm the only white boy in the building, and one of the few white people, probably I would guess, on that part of town. And I got a standing ovation the early show. Now the late show probably got a little too overconfident and just thought I could lollygag and do my shit and take my time. And that crowd got really, I just lost them. And then I felt like a substitute teacher. Because it wasn't like anybody being mean and saying like, you ain't funny or none of that shit. Mm-hmm. Everyone just like started talking, and then it got louder and louder, and it sounded like a swarm of bees. And I literally was up there going, oh my God, like I'm trying all my tricks and nothing's working. And there's a DJ on stage behind you. So that's where I was just like, all right, let's just improvise. I would tell a joke and I'd tell the DJ when I put my hand out, just hit play. And so I would tell a punchline, and he'd play the song, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. And, man, it was really humbling and awful. And I was just trying at that point, I was just like, let me be a cheerleader. I was just like, hey, who here's, like just trying to ask questions. Anybody in love? Let's give it up to the troops. Where's all my Geminis at? Just anything. And I was like, oh my
Right.
God, I'm just bombing. Like I'm drowning up here. And I barely got through it. And then I went to the green room, and there was about 10 comics in there. Right when I walked in, they got quiet. Like, oh shit, he's here.
Man.
And I just released the tension by saying like, man, that fucking sucks. and they laughed their ass off. Like, okay, at least he knows he bombed. And then I go like this. I go, hey, you think I should sell CDs? I mean, man, I brought them. I'm thinking like, here's how delusional comedians can be sometimes, right? I'm thinking even if one person buys it, I go, think I should sell CDs? And this one guy goes, hell nah. He goes, if you do sell CDs, don't do it by the exit, man, because there ain't no security over there.
Oh shit.
He goes, you should at least do it by the stage. And then this other guy goes, yeah, man, fuck it. Sell CDs, man. Walmart sells CDs, and ain't nobody like Walmart. I was like, yeah, you're right, I think. So I actually end up going back on stage and selling CDs and, standing there as everybody exited. But I got to be honest, man, 2 people came up and bought them.
Nice.
And I think it's because it was like a pity buy, like they felt bad for me or something.
Hey, that's better than nothing, right?
Yes, exactly. So that's probably my weirdest experiences. I remember on Sunday when I got paid, the club owner was like, he's like, you did pretty good this week. You did pretty good. And I go, yeah, except for like Saturday night. I really did not like that show. And he goes, ha, I bet your ass didn't. I mean, it was fun. The whole experience was different. Because I remember like when I called the hotel, I was in a nice hotel in downtown Atlanta. I called the club and I go, yeah, what time would you like me to be down there? And the guy goes, let me see here. The doors open at 7. The show starts at 8. So I'll pick you up at 9. I was like, oh, okay. I was thinking he's going to have me, get there early, but he had me going on like way,
I haven't heard of that before.
I know. I don't even know if that club's around.
Well, you've had a lot of good things happen to you, too. You've been on The Tonight Show. You were in a movie with John Travolta. Who's somebody that you've performed with that was like a dream come true for you?
Dream come true. Probably when I got hired to perform at Snoop Dogg's family reunion.
Wow. Hell yeah.
Yeah. That was cool because I used to do I still do occasionally like this, but I used to make it a big part of my act doing Snoop Dogg impressions, Wow, yeah, what's cracking? This is a Digo Double G, the big Snoop Dogg. Hey, what's cracking with you, Jason? Yeah, nothing to it but to do it. Ooh, wait. And his cousin saw me, and then they actually hired me to come perform at the family reunion. It went so well, they brought me back the next year.
Damn.
Yeah, that was cool. He introduced me the second year. He's like, he's red on top. He's got red hot jokes. My ginger, the party starter, Darren Carter.
You do a lot of impressions. When did you realize that you had a talent for that?
When I was a little kid, I remember like being maybe about 8 years old. I remember telling a story, and as I was telling the story, I kind of became that person. And they were like, you sound just like him. And I'm like, do I? I didn't even, it was like that. And to tell you the truth, I don't really work on impressions, but a lot of times I will, as I'm telling a story or in stage, I become that to really paint that picture, and it just kind of comes out natural. Like I kind of got away from trying to do impressions when I saw that, a lot of guys kept just doing the same impersonations of the same famous people.
Right.
And also that is a downside. And also another downside is if you do impressions of someone and then that person is no longer famous or popular, or like the young people don't know who it is. And I didn't want to be that guy who's like, I remember one time when I was opening in Las Vegas about 20 years ago, the headliner, no, I'm sorry, not even the headliner, the middle act was doing impressions of Howard Cosell calling Muhammad Ali's answering machine.
Wow.
And I was just like, oh, I don't want to be like that. Because I was like, imagine doing that now. Some people wouldn't really even know who. I mean, I was at this coffee shop, and I told the story on my podcast. I asked this kid behind the counter, hey, do you know who Johnny Carson is? Johnny Carson from The Tonight Show. I go, do you know who Johnny Carson is? And he goes, I think he works here on Tuesdays. And I was like, wow. So that's why I don't want to do too many, impressions of, you know what I mean? Like even the Snoop Dogg, like for some people, like if they're in their 20s, they might not really connect with it. And I don't want to have to like learn like what do the Migos sound like? What does Cardi B, or the latest?
Do you remember when Snoop Dogg turned into Snoop Lion for a little bit?
Yeah, what's funny is on my album, I have 4 comedy albums, and I think it's on Stay at Home Stripper. If you want, you can play it on the show, and it's you can play it on the show. It's I have a bit called Snoop Lion because he got into the reggae thing for a minute.
Yeah, that was a strange time. My listeners know I've been focusing on my health a lot this year, but you have been too. What started that?
You know what? I just got really bored because I've always been fit to a certain extent. I'd always throw in some push-ups or play tennis or go for really long walks. But I remember there was a time where I was like, damn, I really don't sweat. I don't like push myself. I just do like low impact and I might bust out some dips or pull-ups at the park or whatever, like that kind of thing. And I go on these really long walks. I love that, like these 5-mile walks, just listening to podcasts, making phone calls, then I bump it up to 6 miles. Well, about 3 years ago, I walked by a boxing gym and there was a giant chessboard. And I'm like, this is 2 things I like. I like chess and I like like the Rocky movies and stuff. Like, I'm like, wow, I wonder if I could come here and like play chess and then like hit the heavy bag or something. So I paid the $60 and dude, it changed my life. It's like, I didn't realize how awesome the boxing workouts are. And also what's great about the boxing gym I go to, it's mostly all pro boxers or people who a few of them are amateurs on their way to being pros. And so these guys are like the real deal. Like they have like Sugar Shane Mosley's has come in there, Shannon Cannon Briggs, Kovalev has been in there, Sergey Kovalev. Like some of these big boxing stars come in there, and it's pretty amazing to see them fight like on TV, and you're literally training on the bag next to them. It's crazy.
Have you ever tried to get any of them to be on your podcast?
Yes, I got 2-time world champion Buddy McGirt is also one of the top trainers. He's won like a lot of awards. Mm-hmm. He did my podcast probably like, I don't know what episode, but it's Buddy McGirt, and he was a professional boxer from 1983 to 1997. He did 80 fights and only lost 6.
Wow. That's a damn good ratio,
he held the belt twice. He's a top-level boxer, and it's great to hear his training, like what he's telling these guys. These guys have incredible stories, man.
You just launched your latest podcast about 6 months ago. You've had a lot of great guests on. How do you explain your podcast to people?
I like to describe the Pocket Party podcast. I tell people it's kind of my view of the world. I like to bring inspiration, motivation, humor, and I like people to have value. When they get done listening, I want them to be like, damn, that was good. I learned something. At the very end of each podcast, I ask my guests if they have like some words of wisdom, mm-hmm. something they can carry on and kind of tell people, make their day a little bit brighter. Some of the advice I've heard is just, it really does help, One guy said at a stoplight, when the light is red, he likes to take that moment, and rather than cursing at the car in front of him or being pissed off that he's late, he's like, I take a red light and I try to have a moment of gratitude. He goes, I try to name 5 things I'm thankful for.
That's good advice.
Yeah, I love doing the podcast. Like I said, I love bringing that positivity to it.
Well, I've really been enjoying the podcast. I love the guests. The meat salesman guy was one of my favorites.
Oh, thank you, Josh Nasser. And I love that podcast. I had such an adrenaline rush at the end because I was able to have my son, Austin, my 11-year-old son, who did the theme song for my podcast. When I got to interview him and did a little interview, it was so awesome. And then I did a solo a segment for about 30 minutes. And I had never done that before. And then at the end, when I had Josh, the meat salesman, how great was that?
Man, that guy was something else. I haven't heard anybody like him before. That was really good stuff.
A lot of people really like the one with Josh Robert Thompson, the guy that was the voice of, he's been on Family Guy for 8 seasons. He does a lot of voices and stuff.
Are your guests mainly people that you're friends with, or are they comedians that you like but haven't spoke with yet and you reached out to them?
Most of them are friends. I haven't really interviewed any like strangers yet. People that I've never. That will definitely happen. Because I guess my own little insecurity in the beginning was like, well, what if I don't have anything to say to them, or what if they don't talk? And I'm realizing like that's kind of rare for that to happen.
Very true. Darren, I want to thank you for being on the podcast today. I hope to have you on again soon. Maybe I can have you back for the New Year's episode like I wanted to do.
Dude, I'll call anytime. I'll call anytime. This is easy.
Well, is there anything you'd like to promote before you go?
You know what? If they want to either listen or stream, I don't care. I have 4 comedy albums. They're all out there. Just search Darren Carter and they're out there. And please check out the podcast, Pocket Party Podcast. And if they want to check out my Instagram, I love doing Insta stories and Instagram. I do that every day. Official Darren Carter.
And I'll have a link to Darren Carter's podcast in the show notes. I'm going to take a quick break and play a song that John the Songman sent in about Darren Carter. And when I come back, I'll be joined by Gough.
Here he comes, he's back in town. It's the greatest man around because Derrick Parker is back in town. And he'll wear a crown if he beats up a clown, if he or she wears a gown. So be sure to give him a woo and not give him a boo, or else he'll give you the flu. And you know that will make you do number 2.
I tried to show my little boy. These kids are so smart now, man. They're so smart. Right? I don't know if it's the iPads and how videos are related. And they're just 5 years old. 5 years old, my son. And I tried to show him the video, right? I was like, hey, let me show you this Snoop Dogg video. Get this. People in this room probably don't even know this, but some people probably do. Snoop Dogg changed his name. What's his new name? Snoop Lion. See, my kid, 5 years old, I go, let me show you Snoop Dogg. And he goes, because I was right. I was like, hey, I can do a little Snoop Dogg voice. I'll show you. Bow wow, yeah, what's cracking? It's the Digo Double G, the big Snoop Dogg. Oh, ain't nothing to it but to do it, yeah. Right, so I'm thinking, hey, I'll show him the video, then I'll be like, I'll do a voice for you, kid, But I go, look, son, look, Austin, it's Snoop Dogg. And he goes, you mean Snoop Lion? It's like, wow, that hit me. I was like, there's going to be a whole generation of kids growing up thinking it was always Snoop Lion. And then I thought about it more. I was like, there's going to be a whole generation of kids thinking Journey's lead singer was always Filipino. Don't stop believing. Snoop must have been high that day, right? Where'd he go? Where'd he go to change his name to Snoop Lion? He went to Jamaica, right? Which makes me think, if he went to China, would it be Snoop Panda? Mexico, Snoop Donkey. Bow wow, hee haw, hee haw. Smoking that grass, I'm named after an ass. Sitting on a burrow, eating a churro. Snoop Lion, roar, roar. Roar, roar, even. Heavens to Murgatroyd. It ain't no fun if the homies can't have some even. Face down, ass up, that's the way I like to pump. Roar.
Are you enjoying the show but you haven't subscribed yet? What are you waiting for? The podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, SiriusXM, Spoke, Spotify, Stitcher, CastBox, and literally anywhere podcasts are available, including YouTube, Roku, and as a skill on Amazon's Alexa-enabled devices. The rest of the year is already booked, and it's going to be great. Subscribe now so you don't miss an episode. Joining me now from the Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia, the world's most successful blind filmmaker, it's the one and only Gough. How you doing?
Very well, Jason, and yourself?
I'm doing really good. What's new with your company, Beer Nuts Productions?
Well, it's a strange coincidence you should ask that, Jason, because we've just released a brand new film called Prostitution-The Untold Story, and I thought that it was my job to tell that untold story. So that's exactly what I've done. So, yeah, we just released a brand new short film.
A lot of writers and directors, they research the topics of their film and try to live the experience before filming them. Is that something that you did with this film?
Well, I wish I could say yes, because you've obviously had a bit of a sneak peek at the film, and I can honestly say that the few things that happen in that particular film sadly have not happened to me, or maybe gladly in one of the cases. So, unfortunately, I should have done some more research. You're right. It would have probably helped the project, perhaps.
I got to be honest, because I was fortunate enough to get a screener of the movie. Before I watched it, I went out to do my own research just in case there were insider terms or something. I wanted to be familiar with the topic, even though I'm sure you were going to thoroughly cover it. I just wanted to make sure that I knew how thorough you were, you know.
Well, of course, you being the journalist, you got to do fact checking and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly. One thing I would have liked to have seen is for somebody, male or female, to grab somebody's breasts and have them make the sound honk honk, and then have the other person grab the other person's breasts and make the sound auga. But, you know.
You can't have everything, Jason. I mean, you know, I crammed as many sexual innuendos as I could in there, you know.
That is true. It was a very good film. Do you have any funny stories from the set?
Well, a few things actually that did take place. Firstly, one of our production assistants, Taylor, who's a really lovely young lady, but she's slightly naive, and she's turning 19 in a couple of days. Much to everybody's chagrin, I had to explain to her some of the terms and what they actually meant, and how some of those things would actually work. And Simon and the other crew members were just shaking their head and go, "Please stop! Don't tell her anymore. She's such a nice person. We don't need her corrupted like this." So yeah, that was quite humorous, actually. Poor Taylor. She got an education, I think, but she hasn't quit. So I mean, it can't be that bad. So you know, that's always a good sign. She hasn't put her letter of resignation in just yet. So I'm going okay.
Well, that's great. And I think that the title is pretty self-explanatory, but just in case we didn't get it out there good enough, do you want to explain the film to people?
Sure. So I love getting subjects that people are really sensitive and touchy about. So as you know, in the past, I've done drugs, I've done the environment, I've done the fitness industry, I've done porno. And so this time it's prostitution to get the beer nuts treatment. So basically I take the subject of prostitution and I look at it from a few different angles and sort of do a mockumentary. It's a 20-minute film, so it's got a bit of length to it. So, yeah, I did a 20-minute mockumentary all about the different sort of pros and cons, I suppose you would say, of prostitution.
The pros and Johns.
Well, yes. Well put. Nice one, Jason, yes.
Where can people find the film?
Absolutely. So, beernutsproductions.com. So if they hit up the Beer Nuts Productions website, which is my production company, they can download the new film and all the other films as well. So, it's nice and easy, nice and simple. There's no third-party involvement. You just simply go to beernutsproductions.com and download the film directly off the Beer Nuts website.
And by the way, I learned that term, John, from a police officer during my research. What is next for yourself and Beer Nuts Productions?
Was that before or after the arrest?
That was during. I heard it when he was radioing in.
For Beer Nuts, well, we got a few things coming up in the pipeline, but it's all about the new film at the moment. But there should be a couple of new films coming out next year as well. So, and there'll be, again, like I say, I really do enjoy taking a subject people can be quite sensitive about and really ripping it apart, because it's more about showing the hypocrisy of the human race. I can't stand those people that say one thing and do another. You know what I mean? So I like making fun of those sorts of people.
And I'll have a link to Beer Nuts Productions in the show notes. That way, if you're interested, you can click there. You can find the film. Also, if this is your first time listening and you want to know more about Gough, like how he can do what he does while being blind, or more about his past, we have talked about those things on other episodes, and I'll have a link to those in the show notes as well. Gough, I want to thank you for being on the show today. Is there anything else you'd like to say before you go?
Well, no, just thank you for having me on the show as always, and hopefully everybody out there downloads a copy of the film and gets a really good laugh, because at the end of the day, that's the point of everything Beer Nuts Productions does, is to entertain folks and to give people a good laugh, and so that hopefully I can do that with the latest bit of nonsense that I've released.
Very well said, and it will be worth your money. I encourage you to go check that out. I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be back.
I'm glad we're moving on, that we've both gotten over it. Our breakup was pretty bad there for a while. I look back and feel stupid. It's stupid, I was mad. I've been so juvenile. But now that's all over, and peace has been made, and there's just one little thing unsaid that needs to be said. So like, that time a guy drove by and threw a sandwich at your head. That was me. Last Thursday night when the nightclub said they lost your coat. That was me. Social Security believes that you are dead. Thanks to me, when in the shower you found that tongue instead of soap. Well, that was me. That was me. I feel really good. The truth is coming out, and I'm just glad we didn't let things go too far. I may have spent $591.18 ruining your life, but I can't afford to let our friendship fall apart. Thank God that's all over. The pain's at an end, and we can be happy as friends. I think enough time has passed that we can look back and laugh. I know I can. The last 3 chapters of all your books that were all torn out. That was me. Who signed you up for the Scientology mailing list? That was me. Somebody peed in your Brita, and that somebody was me. And who wrote that email virus hoping it would get to you? And I'll bet it did. That was me. That was me. Then someone told you I was sorry in a note left on your door. That was my roommate, and because of that, he's no one's roommate anymore. I think we've learned a lot from this. God knows I have. 'Cause I've learned how to sign your name and plug your drain and make it rain and plant drugs and drug your plants and shrink your pants, post videos of you throwing up in your hands. And I was responsible for the events of September 11th, 2008, the year somebody stuck a banana in your grandma's tailpipe. And when I say tailpipe, I'm really sorry. And that time you thought that there was just one more stare. That was me. And when that guy hit your new boyfriend with a bat, that was not me. But he did it on my behalf for a fee. That filled in crossword, that was me. Your new car was dirty. Someone wrote wash me on the hood with a key and shot your dog into space. And that time you got drunk at the costume party and hooked up with that Japanese dude that never called you back. And on that online message board, who said you should go rent Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? I didn't think you'd actually do it. That was me, the old me.
Hey, I'm Ken Shamrock, the world's most dangerous man. You're listening to We Don't Have Cookies.
Want to contact the show? send an email to jason@wedon'thavecookies.com or call 929-266-9342 and leave a voicemail.
Like I've mentioned on the past couple of episodes, I'd like to hear from you on what you like and what you don't like about the podcast. I'm going to be making some changes in January. Nothing drastic, just trying to make the show better. If you live in the U.S., I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Mine was a lot of fun. I also had a lot of fun watching The Grinch at the movies. As a kid, I watched it every year at Christmas time. And when they did the remake with Mike Myers, me and the family, we went to go see that too. And I thought it was horrible. So it was nice to see them remake it and have it be as much fun to watch as an adult as it was as a kid. So I would highly recommend it if you're into nostalgia and you're at that age where you appreciated the original Grinch, or if you have kids and you want to take them to see something fun. It was just different enough to where it felt kind of fresh, but it had tons of the same things as you enjoyed when you were growing up. So again, highly recommend that movie. Speaking of movies, I have a trailer for Gough's movie on the website and on the Facebook page. Make sure you check that out. Also, if you haven't yet, please like the Facebook page. I don't post there very often, so it's not going to clog up your feed. And the more likes it has, the better it looks. So I would really appreciate that. I want to thank my guest, Darren Carter from the Pocket Party Podcast and Gough from Beer Nuts Productions. Make sure you check out their stuff. I'll have links to that in the show notes. I want to thank Mike Phirman for letting me play his song, The Old Me, which you can purchase, and there will be a link in the show notes for that too. I also want to thank John the Songman for sending in his song about Darren Carter, the party starter, even though I think he called him Derrick Parker, but that's okay. So I think I'm going to name this episode Derrick Parker, the Parakeet Martyr. Also, you heard Darren earlier saying that he'll be back for the New Year's episode, so maybe John the Songman can make it up to him then. I think Father Time might be on that episode too. All of December is going to be really good. I can't wait for you to hear the episodes I got planned. Next week will be the podcast's first ever Hanukkah episode with a hysterical Jewish comedian from the UK, Ashley Blaker. I think you'll really like him. He's had a TV show on the BBC called Ashley Blaker's Goyish Guide to Judaism, had a sold-out run during his debut at the Edinburgh Festival, and was featured on Fox News. That's it for me this week. I'll talk to you next Monday.
Thanks for listening. Tell your friends about the show and leave a review. See you next time.
Can we curse on this show?